yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Bhagavad Śrī Maitreya's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBD Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Bhagavad Śrī Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Ananta Guru Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Ganga Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai Samveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai All glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glorious to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 24, Text 20. Maitreya uvāca. Tav āśvāsya jagat-sraṣṭā. Tav āśvāsya jagat-sraṣṭā. Kumāraiḥ saha-nāradaḥ. Kumāraiḥ saha-nāradaḥ. Haṁso haṁsena yānena. Haṁso haṁsena yānena. Tri-dhāma-paramam yayau. Tri-dhāma-paramam yayau. Maitreya uvāca. Tav āśvāsya jagat-sraṣṭā. Kumāraiḥ saha-nāradaḥ. Haṁso haṁsena yānena. Tri-dhāma-paramam yayau. Others. Vaishnavis. Maitreya uvāca. Maitreya said, to the couple, āśvāsya, having reassured, jagat-sraṣṭā, the creator of the universe, kumāraiḥ, along with the Kumāras, saha-nāradaḥ, with Narada, haṁsaḥ, Lord Brahmā, haṁsena yānena, by his own swan carrier, tri-dhāma-paramam, to the highest planetary system, yayau, went. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Śrī Maitreya said, after thus speaking to Kardama Muni and his wife Devahūti, Lord Brahmā, the creator of the universe, who is also known as Haṁsa, went back to the highest of the three planetary systems on his own swan carrier with the four Kumāras and Nārada. Purport. The words haṁsena, yānena are very significant here. Haṁsa-yāna, the airplane by which Brahmā travels all over outer space, resembles a swan. Brahmā is also known as Haṁsa because he can grasp the essence of everything. His abode is called tri-dhāma-paramam. There are three divisions of the universe: the upper planetary system, the middle planetary system, and the lower planetary system. But his abode is above even Siddhaloka, the upper planetary system. He returned to his own planet with the four Kumāras and Nārada because they were not going to be married. The other rishis who came with him, such as Marīci, Atri, remained there because they were to be married to the daughters of Kardama. But his other sons, Sanātana, and Nārada, went back with him in his swan-shaped airplane. The four Kumāras and Nārada are naiṣṭhika-brahmacārīs. Naiṣṭhika-brahmacārī refers to one who never wastes his semen at any time. They were not to attend the marriage ceremony of their other brothers, Marīci and other sages, and therefore they went back with their father Haṁsa. Om Iganatamidandasha Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshura Militamyena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobistam Sapitamyena Bhutale Swayamupagadamayam Dadapti Swapadantikam. Okay, so Prabhupada says here in the first sentence of the purport that the words haṁsena, yānena are very significant here. And then he goes on to explain how Haṁsa-yāna is an airplane by which Lord Brahma travels all over outer space, and it resembles a swan. But he's saying it's very significant, but he's not elaborating upon it a lot. He does make the secondary point. He says Brahma is also known as Haṁsa because he can grasp the essence of everything. So what is the significance of this Haṁsa-yāna, the airplane by which Lord Brahma travels all over outer space? Well, what I could come up with was it's an indication of how prominent personality is in the pastimes, of the Lord and in the creation. Lord Brahma, he's known as Haṁsa-yāna. Haṁsa is swan, and he's known as Haṁsa. He's flying around on a swan. Prabhupada doesn't directly say it here, but I've heard Sadhaputta say it in elsewhere, that possibly Lord Brahma likes swans, and that's why his airplane resembles a swan, right? There's that pastime where Krishna and Arjuna go to, to find the sons that were died when the Brahmin was giving birth. Anyway, they went on a chariot, and the chariot was pulled by horses, but they were flying through the sky. So horses generally don't fly through the sky, but these horses were flying through the sky. And so one possible explanation is Krishna likes horses. And, so he has a chariot that's being pulled by horses that are flying through the sky. I mean, Krishna gets around on Garuda, whereas Lord Shiva gets around on a bull, Nandi. I think Ganesh gets around on a rat, if I remember correctly, and Kartikeya gets around on an ostrich. These different personalities have different peacock, yeah. And so it's possible that, personality is a very significant thing within the Vedic picture of reality, and that could have something to do with it, why he's called Haṁsa. It's like a nickname, Oh, he likes the swans. Okay, Haṁsa. Anyway, the other point Prabhupada makes, though, is that he says also he's known as Haṁsa because he can grasp the essence of everything. So probably everybody's familiar with that example of how the swan, or the Haṁsa, he's able to extract milk from water. Prabhupada would, explain that. And that's the essence. He's able to extract the essence. If you have a big pool of water and you pour in some milk, somehow or another, the swan is able to extract the milk, not taking any water. So that's another reason why Brahma is referred to Haṁsa, is because he can grasp the essence of everything. Then it goes, Prabhupada talks about his abode is called tri-dhāma-paramam. There are 3 divisions of the universe: the upper planetary system, the middle planetary system, and the lower planetary system. But his abode is above even Siddhaloka in the upper planetary system. Okay, so something that I found interesting about that was, in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, there's it's chapter 24, chapter 25. It's talking about where these planetary systems are in relation to each other. Anyway, Siddhaloka is clearly mentioned as being below, in the Vedic, at least in the 5th canto description of the universe, you have the moon as being further away from the quote-unquote earth than the sun. The idea is that you have, I think it's referred to in the purport of the 14 planetary systems. Yeah, there are 3 divisions. Okay, let's call it 3. There's the lower, the middle, and the upper. So we're on in a middle planetary system called Bhu-loka. That's right, smack dab in the middle of the universe. And it's a plane, for those of these who've kind of studied a little bit, it's a plane. It's not like a Bhu-loka is not just, it's different. It's not a planet. It's a sense in which it's a plane. So the sun is on the plane of Bhumandala, or on the plane of the ecliptic. It's basically kind of level with that plane, whereas the moon is above the plane of Bhumandala. So in that sense, the moon is further away from the earth than the sun. It's not referring to the radial distance of one globe to the other. It's, at least this is how Sadhaputta explained it, and it makes a lot of sense, because there's no place in the Bhagavatam where Bhu is referring to the earth globe. When it's mentioned Bhu, it's referring to the plane on Bhumandala. Okay, so the moon is further above the plane of Bhumandala than the sun. Okay, so we've established that. Now, going on from there, in the Bhagavatam in the 5th canto, it describes that below the moon, but above the earth, are planets where the Kumāras live, the Gandharvas live, and Siddhaloka is mentioned among them. See, so it's not very far away, right? And then, of course, below the earth is like all those talas. Patala, Talatala, Atala, Mahatala, etc. Okay. So anyway, so it's not very far away. It's not like it's trillions of miles away or anything like that. It's kind of, in terms of like physical distance, it's within some 8 million miles maximum. I can't remember. I was having a tough time kind of calculating the exact distance. But, it's interesting that it's also presented that, you know, above Bhuloka is Bhuvarloka, above Bhuvarloka is Maharloka, above Maharloka is Jnanaloka, then Tapaloka, you know, or sometimes called Satyaloka. Anyway, there's 7. There's another 6 above the Bhumandala, and then there's, you know, beyond that. So, you know, you tend to think, when you hear that description, you tend to think, oh, well, it's, you know, there's a great distance between where we are and, but here it's, as you know, it's instead in the 5th canto, it's described as being below the moon, but above the earth. So, which brings in the idea that in the Vedic sort of understanding of the universe, levels of consciousness are, the concept of levels of consciousness come into play in addition to, I'm not saying to the exclusion of, but in addition to the physical distances. That is possibly a consideration as well, but it seems like from this statement here, and from the description in the 5th canto, that levels of consciousness has to do with how things are situated, because Siddhaloka is, as I said, relatively close. So that's what I want to say about that. And it goes on to say, he returned, he means Lord Brahma, he returned to his planet with the 4 Kumāras and Nārada because they were not going to be married. Okay. Well, is that a good reason for him to be... First of all, it should be mentioned that, yeah, the 4 Kumāras and Nārada are returning with Lord Brahma to his planet because they're not going to be married. Well, first thing is that, so it's obvious from this that they're back on speaking terms. Because if you remember, way back in the beginning, when the 4 Kumāras were first created, Lord Brahma asked them to get married, and they refused to do that. And Lord Brahma became kind of upset by that. Not kind of upset, he became really angry. And from his, in between his eyes came Rudra, you know, another offspring. But, and Narada Muni also, it's not, I don't believe it's described in the Bhagavatam, but Narada Muni was also requested to get married. Elsewhere it's described, some Puranas, I can't remember, I researched it once, but I can't remember the exact place. But he was also asked to get married, and he declined, and Lord Brahma wasn't tickled pink about that either. But they're back on speaking terms, obviously. At least they're able to fly in the same airplane back to where Lord Brahma lives. So, but is that a good reason for them to be going back, just because they're not going to be married? Well, it should be taken into consideration that it's not like they can't return, you know. They can come back again if they want to, back to the, you know, the material or the lower planetary system. They're pretty good at moving around. As you remember, the 4 Kumāras were able to, when they wanted to go see Lord Narayan, they were able to travel to the Vaikunthas. Narada Muni is famous for kind of, you know, popping around all over, appearing in at different places at different times when there's a need for some preaching. So they're going back, and they're going back at this point with Lord Brahma to his abode, but it's not to say that they won't be back. And they're going back not to attend the marriage, the wedding, and we're going to hear a little bit more about it here in the purport. It says here, the other rishis who came with him, such as Marīci, Atri, remained there because they were going to be married to the daughters of Kardama. But his other sons, Sanātana, and Nārada, went back with him in his own swan-shaped airplane. The 4 Kumāras and Nārada are naiṣṭhika-brahmacārīs. Naiṣṭhika-brahmacārī refers to one who never wastes his semen at any time. Now, I found it interesting that Prabhupada used the word wastes his semen at any time, because, I mean, what about Garbhadhan Samskar? Is that a waste of semen? I mean, because that's, you know, there's the material world and procreation is there. Lord Brahma created a situation where you have to have the conjugation of man and woman, the discharge of semen in order to produce population, and that was one of his objectives. He wanted to populate the universe. So why is Prabhupada saying here that the Naiṣṭhika-brahmacārī never wastes his semen at any time? Is it a waste of semen to try to produce good population within the universe? Well, yes and no. The no part is no, because it's part of the plan as well. I mean, otherwise, why would Lord Brahma be asking the 4 Kumāras to get married? You know, there's a sense in which, no, it's not a waste, because you need good population. And that's Lord Brahma's programming. That's why he was asking the 4 Kumāras to get married. That's why he was asking Narada Muni to get married, etc., etc., etc. He wanted to populate the universe, good population, so to give the conditioned souls a chance to, be here in the material world and make spiritual advancement, etc. It is a waste of semen in the sense that, I can't remember if I read this I think I've definitely heard it, and I can't remember where I've read it, if I've read it, but the yogis, they retain their semen, and they're able to, urdhvareta, I think is the phrase, they can raise it up. In other words, they use that substance to fertilize their brain, basically, to achieve higher consciousness. So they use it in such a way that it's very instrumental in their process of achieving enlightenment, progressing towards enlightenment. So in that sense, it's a waste. I mean, that's such a higher calling, a higher purpose, that in comparison to using the semen for that purpose, discharging it is a waste of semen, right? Because that's the foremost purpose and goal of the human form of life, or any form of life, to achieve full, perfect spiritual realization. So that's my understanding of why Prabhupada means by using the word wastes there. It's a waste in comparison to what it could be used for if somebody is fully focused and dedicated and just only one-pointed on elevating to the spiritual platform, highest perfectional spiritual platform. Goes on to say, they were not to attend, this is referring to the 4 Kumāras and Nārada Muni, they were not to attend the marriage ceremony of their brothers, Marīci and other sages, and therefore they went back with their father Haṁsa. So Prabhupada's repeating it. He's repeating the point. He mentioned earlier in the purport that they weren't going to hang around. They were going back because they weren't to be married, and he was repeating it again. But he's not elaborating. He's not saying why that's significant, or why. What's the big deal? Why didn't they just stick around? I mean, what's the problem? They're such advanced devotees. Why would they not just stick around for their brother's wedding? What's the harm, right? Well, let's talk about that. Okay, a couple of thoughts came to my mind. One was, the 4 Kumāras and Nārada Muni, they're preachers, and you don't generally go to a wedding to preach. They just probably considered it. I mean, that's one consideration. It's kind of like it's one of these situations where they say to the brothers, "Hey," I won't say, "Hey, bro." That's not. They don't still. But with all due respect, maybe it's. I think we could use our time better someplace else doing something else. It's just there's no preaching. He's not going to go to the wedding and preach. So that's one consideration. Another consideration is that they're showing possibly, and these are my thoughts. Prabhupada's not directly stating them here. They're showing an example. They're showing an example that this is what people in the renounced order of life do. They avoid such situations. Why? Because not them, but lesser renunciates, have to be careful about where they associate, where they go, what they do. There's that verse in the 9th canto, I believe, of the Śrīmad Bhagavatam. It says, "Matra svarsha duhitrava na bivakvakshana bhavet balavan indriyo gramo vidvan sam apikarshati," that the senses are so powerful that even somebody who's very advanced in knowledge, vidvam sam, even if somebody who's very advanced in knowledge has to be careful. He can't sit too close to his mother, to his sister, or to his daughter. Now you might think, and I've heard Prabhupada elaborate upon that in lectures, he might, some, ordinary person, some low-class person, maybe that kind of person has to be careful in that situation. Mother, sister, daughter. Who'd ever think of, But Prabhupada said, well, nope. He said, the senses are so powerful, balavan indriyo gramo, they're so powerful, right, that even not just an ordinary person, but even vidvam sam apikarshati, even somebody who's highly elevated in knowledge has to be careful about sitting too close to not just, some Maya Devi or something like that, but even one's mother, sister, and daughter. You would think that, what? Nobody could, consider anything inappropriate with one's mother, sister, or daughter. And yeah, generally we think like that, but not Prabhupada, the Shastras are giving this as caution that nope, don't think like that. It's so powerful, it's such a powerful force that even somebody who's highly advanced in knowledge, a vidvan, has to be careful in the association of even one's own mother, sister, and daughter. Whew, that's really a very powerful, that's a very powerful instruction, right? So that's there. So, and then once again, I'm not saying that the four Kumāras were in that situation. There's super elevated personalities, and also, as is Narada Muni, but possibly they're thinking in terms of showing an example, right? That example was shown, that example was shown by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master. Perhaps most of you are familiar with the anecdote, the story. I'll just retell it quickly. So I can't remember what year it was, but they were in Calcutta, and Bhakti Siddhanta was having a darshan. So some of his disciples were there. Prabhupada was there. Our Prabhupada was there, and also was a god brother of Srila Prabhupada's called Adikeshava, better known as OBL Kapoor. So he was there, and he was there with his wife. His wife was a darshan. Common meeting like that. So at one point in the darshan, his wife, I don't know if she raised a hand or what, but she said, Guru Maharaj, I'd like to speak with you. And he said, okay, speak. She said, oh, well, actually, I wanted to speak with you in private. And he said, no, that's not possible. He said, you could speak. These are all my men, my disciples here. You can speak. And so Prabhupada, of course, our Prabhupada was there, and he gave his purport on that. He said, Prabhupada said, so just see, here he was. There's such a difference in age, and then in the relationship, he's the wife of Adikeshava, O.B.L. Kapoor, was like his granddaughter, Prabhupada said. And there's the relationship consideration, and Bhakti Siddhanta is such an elevated Mukta Purush, liberated personality, but he didn't want to. He wasn't willing to do that. Now, whether he was actually thinking, I have to be careful, I don't think so, but he certainly was showing, maybe in the sense that these advanced devotees are always humbled. They don't think they're advanced devotees. Advanced devotees are thinking that they're not advanced. I mean, like in the classic example is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying, I'm lower than the worm in the stool, and more sinful than Jogai and Madai. So was he? No, but he's thinking like that. One Vaishnav actually, no, I won't say. So he's thinking like that. And so, possibly Bhaktisiddhanta was thinking, maybe not, but certainly, he said like that. And so it's an example. So that's there as well. And now, another thing is, it's not like every advanced devotee necessarily has to show that same example, or like Haridas Thakur. This is like the opposite. Haridas Thakur, when the prostitute came and she was trying to seduce him, he didn't, he at the end of the whole thing, he tells her, actually, I knew what you're up to the whole time, but I wanted to deliver you, so I stayed, just for the purpose of giving you a chance to hear the chanting of the mantra, get purified, and become a devotee. I could have left right away. So Haridas Thakur chose to do something different. Different great personalities will show a different example. Right? Like Raghunath Das Goswami, he showed the example of extreme renunciation, to the point where he was just taking a little Charanamrita every other day. And he was chanting and offering obeisances to 1,000 Vaishnavas, chanting at least, I think, a lakh or two of names a day. But not all the other, but to speak of other devotees, even the other 6 Goswamis, they didn't show that same example. They showed examples of something else, So anyway, it's a little bit of individuality once again comes into the picture again there. So they were not to attend the marriage ceremony of their other brothers, and therefore they went back to be with their father and Haṁsa. So what else was a point that I want to make? Let's see what we're doing for time. Well, I'll stop there. That's enough. I might have had something else to say, but I'll see if it comes to me. Yeah. Satchidananda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So, in regards to the Narada Muni and the Kumāras when they did not stay for the marriage.
Yeah.
So I was trying to figure out this point because about 35 years ago, one time, I went to a marriage where I saw 5 sannyasis, but probably were more 6 or more, but 5 definitely. And at that time, I was a little bit kind of trying to figure out philosophically what is the right thing to do. Sometimes it's like, obviously, you want the blessing, so you invite. The bride has her guru, and the other person has her own guru, and they invite, and it becomes like a big,
Yeah,
so then I thought, okay, this couple is going to be blessed like anything. That's what I was thinking. There's a lot of blessings. Unfortunately, it didn't happen like that. Maybe like 5 years ago, 5 years later, they separated. So, but still, my question was, is that like a higher principle there that would, being there, and they could just give blessings without being there. They can choose that. But on the other side, you can say for preaching or support, what is the right thing?
I don't know for sure, but just a couple thoughts that come to my mind is I remember a comment Prabhupada made. He said, in the history of sannyas, I think I'm the first sannyasi to marry his disciples. Prabhupada made that comment. So I don't think traditionally in Vedic culture that was what happened. I don't mean to criticize those, I don't know who those people, the 5 personalities were, and but I'm just saying that traditionally that is not, I don't think, what happens. Because, you got to be super careful. I just remembered something I wanted to say, and then I'll give to Mike to Archita. In the 4th canto, there's that story about when King Prachinibari, Lord Brahma actually told him, you should marry the daughter of the ocean. Her name was Satadruti. And he accepted. And at her marriage, she was so beautiful that everybody, all the demigods, doesn't talk about sannyasis, but everybody that was there became attracted. And Agni, the fire god, he actually kind of tried to do things to get her. He was really didn't have complete control of his mind in the situation. So, and in Prabhupada, there's two purports, 2 texts that deal with that. And at the end of the 2nd text, in the purport, Prabhupada says, the conclusion is that no one can save himself from the attraction of woman, even though he be an exalted demigod or an inhabitant of the higher planets. Only a devotee of the Lord who is attracted by Krishna can escape the lures of woman. Once one is attracted by Krishna, the illusory energy of the world cannot attract him. So, and the point is, you've got to be careful. I mean, maybe if you're so, like Haridas Thakur, he was so confident that he was attracted by Krishna, no problem, but these, as far as lesser personalities go, they have to maybe do a different, respond to that situation in a different way. Archita Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you for a nice class, Prabhu. We have to be careful when we're dealing with references like this. Srila Prabhupada, as you mentioned, said that in the history of sannyas, this probably was not done. That a sannyasi would not only be there at the wedding, but perform the wedding. Prabhupada performed the wedding. So why? Desha Kala Supatragya. This is one of the qualities of Lord Krishna. He knows how to deal with everyone according to time, place, and circumstance. So Prabhupada set it an example. According to the time, Kali Yuga, the place, degraded Western civilization, circumstances, men and women who were already associating with each other loosely, according to those time, place, and circumstance, it was better for him to not only promote marriage within his society, his spiritual society, but to perform it. Who else was going to do it at that point? And so continuing in that line, the leaders of our ISKCON society have to promote marriage as, and I mean, it's there in the Vedic culture. Marriage is one of the ashrams that you go through. Brahmacari, grihastha, but it has to be done in the mood of an ashram. So one may even ask in today's verse, why did Lord Brahma himself leave? Why didn't he stay for the wedding? He certainly promoted it, he predicted it, he promoted it, he wanted these 9 daughters to marry these 9 sages, that's why they came with him. So why didn't he stay? Is it because he's just not? No, obviously he's not against marriage or feeling that maybe he's going to fall down. So there are many other subtle reasons that we shouldn't speculate about. Again, because Lord Brahma himself left and his naiṣṭhika-brahmacārī sons left with him. It's not to criticize their brothers or, you know, there could be other extenuating circumstances. So we shouldn't speculate. If something is not directly stated in the verse or the purport, one should be very careful not to speculate. Otherwise, your head will just start spinning. So in the case of 5 sannyasis going to this marriage that he mentioned, there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe the male and female were disciples, or one or both of, or several of them, and there's no problem. We want to promote marriage in ISKCON. It's a safe situation, safer than for most devotees than trying to stay single and biting your teeth, clenching your teeth like that. Get married and follow the principles properly. That's the point. Not to just do things that whatever you want. Because we've seen so many brahmacharis try to hang on, and then in an inopportune time and in a very drastic way, fall down. So generally, the general promotion is go through student life nicely. Good brahmacharis make good grihastas. And then you move on like that, go on to vanaprastha and then to sannyas. But if you artificially try to remain a brahmachari, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, mitracharya, one of the false yogi, if you try to do things falsely. Better to follow the natural path. Okay?
Thank you. That's a great comment. Thank you. Devahūti, you had your hand up. You want to say something?
Archita Prabhu was just mentioning this Desha Kalapatra.
Speak loud.
He was speaking about this Desha Kalapatra, but we see that Prabhupada's mood evolved over time regarding this topic. So I was wondering if you could speak on how the position of an acharya regarding social convention, it can't be taken out of context with one particular example because it evolves. So I was wondering if you could speak about how to adjust in time, place, and circumstance.
I can make a brief comment just based upon something I heard. It was from Sri Maharaj or Hari, sorry, I can't remember. But he explained that in the beginning, Prabhupada, he arranged the marriages. He actually chose, you can marry this person, you can marry that person, and he performed the marriage ceremony. Then, I don't know if it was the next stage, but, then as time went on, and some of these marriages that Prabhupada personally himself arranged didn't work, then Prabhupada made the statement that anybody can get married, but they have to support themselves. Don't expect the temple to support you, but he gave his permission for, people can get married like that. Then a little bit more time went by, and even those marriages, there was difficulties, things weren't working out. So at least Prabhupada's I can't remember if there's another stage or two in between, but Prabhupada's final position that I remember was Prabhupada said, men are good, women are good, together bad. Better just, I remember that. Men are good, women are good. That was the final position, that everybody should just take shelter of Krishna and get absorbed in your devotional service, because it seems like for the Westerners, you guys just can't get it together to even be married properly, so just take shelter of Krishna. At least that's my purport, but that statement was there. Men are good, women are good, together bad. So it seems like it did evolve towards that direction of Prabhupada encouraging further, more renunciation than, progressing through the ashrams. There's probably a lot more that could be said about that. Anybody else? Judah Karma, could you offer some words of wisdom on this subject? Sometimes you have to milk these senior devotees. They always have something. But yeah.
Thanks. Speaking of the Desha Kala Patra, at a certain point, Prabhupada said he wasn't going to make any more sannyasis.
Say that again. I kind of missed it.
Speaking of Desha Kala Patra,
Yeah.
at one point, Srila Prabhupada said he wasn't going to make any more sannyasis.
Right. Right.
But, it's not an easy thing to consider because, there are different points of view. Like Lord Chaitanya is saying, I'm not a brahmachari, I'm not a grihastha, I'm not a vanaprastha, I'm not a sannyasi. Gopi Bhatta Pratakamali or Das Das Anudas. That ultimately we're not any of these positions in the system of Varna and Ashrama. But at the same time, Lord Chaitanya obeyed the rules and regulations regarding being a sannyasi, which he took that position. So, ultimately, we just want to be servants of Krishna, and whatever position helps us best do that, we should occupy that position in the system of Daiva Varnashrama. And so it's a question of balancing these things.
Balance, yeah.
In our society, it's gradually making progress in defining these roles. But the main thing is to become Krishna conscious.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yeah, on that point. Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Bigger paramahansa than our guru. Yes, Srila Prabhupada glorified Lord Chaitanya. He said no woman could even come close to pay obeisances. But then we see Prabhupada allowed women to come and pay obeisances, cook for him, sew for him, wash for him. So was Prabhupada fallen? You see, don't be a bigger paramahansa than your Guru Maharaj. That's the overriding consideration for us. Prabhupada set the example. Of course, you have to know your position. If having somebody cook for you and sew your clothes is going to make you fall down, then that's on you. That's on you. But at the same time, Prabhupada showed that we're not in the situation where we can imitate that kind of strictness. Women have to pay obeisances from half a block away and stuff like that. That would not fly in today's society. Now, it's interesting that you quoted that verse. Matra swatara hitrava navitek shasanobabet. Balaman ninjayagramo vidbansam apikarshati. So there's a story attached to that. I'm going to tell it. It's going to take a minute or two. But it's very important to remember this. Okay. That there was a gathering of sages led by Vyasadeva. His disciples came to that gathering and they read that verse from the Bhagavatam. He read that verse.
Who, Vyasadeva?
Yes, he spoke on that verse. And one of his elevated sannyas disciples was wondering, he was thinking, he wasn't even saying out loud, why is Guru Maharaj picking this verse to speak on? There's so many other elevated topics we could talk about. Why this particular verse? So it stuck in his mind. And he went back to his ashram. And that night, huge storm came in, rain, thunder, all that. He was in his ashram, he's okay. Knock, knock, knock. He thought he heard a knock, 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 knock. Yeah, somebody's knocking on the door. He opened. This beautiful woman is standing there. Maharaj, there's a storm. I can't get back to my village. Can I stay tonight? No, I'm a sannyasi. You crazy? Bam, slam the door. Then he's sitting there thinking, oh, she's so beautiful. I'm so mean. How could I do that? So he went back and said, there's a little hut down the way. You could stay there. So he put her in the hut, went back to his ashram. But he's thinking all night, she's so beautiful. I have to have her. I've never seen a woman that beautiful in my life. So he goes to the hut and says, I can't stop thinking about you. Can I be with you? We can think about it, but wait till tomorrow, we can talk about it. Of course, we would have to get married. There's no question of impropriety. So he agrees. He goes back. But he said, no, he comes back in a few minutes. No, let's get married tonight. But there's a storm. Where are we going to find a priest or anything? No, we have to do it. I know a place. So they're walking. And she said, I can't walk anymore. I'm too tired. He said, okay, get on my back. Puts her on his back and he keeps walking. And he gets so tired, he has to get down on all fours. He's crawling in the mud. And then he can't move anymore. He turns around and looks up. And the girl is Vyasadeva. And the Vyasadeva, see you rascal.
I've heard that story.
So we have to be very, very careful.
I've heard it before. Where's that story from?
It's from one of the Puranas. I forget which. But
okay.
The point is, you can't be artificial. Don't be artificial. Don't be a bigger Paramahamsa than your Guru Maharaj. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Okay. So I'm going to let Prabhupada... Oh, you want to say something? I stopped early so we could... Yeah, Shama Priya Mataji has something she'd like to say.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu. I was just thinking that this is probably the best argument for the necessity of having female gurus, because traditionally the woman would go to her husband, but in this day and age there's a very shortage of qualified husbands, and the women, they do actually need guidance, and so who do they go to if the guru has to be so careful even of elderly women on the level of his mother or something like that, then who does a woman go to discuss her things if you don't have a structure in place of women who are considered to be like bona fide and representative of the disciplic succession? Then they just talk with their friends and and then get together and the whole thing, different outcome comes. So I was just thinking as that point came up that would probably be one of the more strong arguments for the ladies.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm going to let Prabhupada have the last word in the class. So I'm going to read an excerpt from a lecture Prabhupada gave on the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, text 10, 1973 in London. And this is, on the following from what Judah Karma said, ultimately we have to become Krishna conscious. So anyway, I think everybody will find these enlivening and unifying. Prabhupada said, therefore, to understand Krishna, how you will understand Krishna? Krishna is so great. Sevan mukhe hi jivado svaimeva spadatyada. Atakshri Krishna na madi na bhaved gurai mindade. You cannot understand Krishna by these blunt material senses. That is not possible. You have to purify it. You have to tat pavartena nirmalam. Simply by Krishna consciousness, always thinking of Krishna, all your senses will be purified. This is the process. Sevan mukhe hi jivado. And you begin service with your tongue. He says, now this is also very surprising. By utilizing our tongue, we can become perfect. This is also unknown to modern science. By utilizing the tongue, one can become perfect. Yes, this is the process. If by the tongue you chant Hare Krishna mantra, and by the tongue you taste prasadam, you will be perfect, simply by executing these two things. Do not accept anything. Do not allow the tongue to touch anything which is not offered to Krishna. This is one item. Another item, engage the tongue always chanting Hare Krishna. You become perfect. Is it a very difficult task? Anyone can do. Hare Krishna Mahamantra, anyone can chant, and nice prasadam, anyone can take. And actually, it is happening. How these European and American boys and girls, they are advancing, they are realizing, simply by that process, tongue, chant Hare Krishna, take prasadam. So you can introduce this process all over the world. Give them chance to chant Hare Krishna mantra. He says, just like the other day, this is a couple more sentences, just like the other day we held this festival, Ratha Yatra, chant and take prasadam, that's all. Organize this all over the world. They will be saved. They will understand Krishna. Krishna will appear. He says, you cannot see Krishna, that is not possible. You cannot order Krishna, please come, I will see you. No. When he is pleased with your service, he will come. Yes, I am here, see me. That is the history. Just like Dhruva Maharaj was meditating, within 6 months he saw Krishna face to face. So Prabhupada concludes by saying, so everyone can see, everyone will be able, provided we utilize the tongue. Sevan mukhi jivado svayameva sparati. And then Prabhupada says, by this small thing, but it has great value. And simply by doing that, Krishna will reveal himself to you. So, getting back to basics there, that's a good message to end with. Thank you. Grantarot Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.